Welcome to the future. Get ready to explore how spirituality and science will come together in the age of Aquarius. Hosted by JC Nova.
Today I'm speaking with Dr. Jennifer Freed, a renowned astrologer, psychologist, and emotional education trainer. Jennifer has served as the clinical director of Pacifica Graduate Institute and is a national consultant for post-traumatic growth therapies. We talk with Jennifer about connecting to your cosmic DNA, how to deepen your relationships, and awaken your highest potential in the age of Aquarius. Enjoy the show. Welcome, Jennifer. Thanks for being on the show today.
I'm excited to be here because this is a launch of a beautiful time and a very challenging time.
I totally agree. Astrology has been very comforting to me over the years, and I started studying astrology probably when I was 8 or 9 years old. When did you first discover astrology?
I was thinking about astrology from when I was quite young, but I had no confirmation or encouragement to think about it. So I had my first reading when I was 18, and ever since then, I've been passionately engaged.
And is it something that you studied throughout high school and college? When did you start building your practice and mixing astrology and psychology together?
I started studying it in earnest right out of college. I was right out of high school, And I studied, and then started applying it when I had a really great mentor, Lynn Stark, at about 27 years old. And then ever since then, I've been teaching it, consulting with people, and continuing my education.
Fantastic. And when did you start the Healing Arts Academy?
My partner, Rendy, and I started AHA in 1999.
What was the inspiration behind it?
We are both psychotherapists and mediators and group leaders and educators. We had fallen madly in love, and we both had major interests working with youth. And for my PhD dissertation assignment, I had to do a practicum. And we came up with this idea based on not wanting any youth to ever feel as desperate as the youth that were killing people in Columbine, which happened right before we started this.
I have a son. He's grown now, but from being a teenager, he grew up at the beach. Our house was always an open door policy for his friends to come over. And I found a lot of his male friends sometimes felt like they lacked connection with their family. He had one particular friend that was actually a musician and in a very actually well-known rock band. And when he would come off tour, he would actually come and stay at our house because his parents were never home. And he just wanted to hang out and go bowling and be a kid until he went out on the road again, which I found interesting and odd at the same time. And I'm just curious, as a therapist, what you're seeing with teenagers growing up in today's world and what challenges they face.
Well, that's a great question because I've been working with teens for 40 years, and I've never seen anything like the challenges teenagers are facing in the last 10 years, let alone COVID. Ever since we've become digitized, people are more busy and less connected than ever before. And social skills have deeply atrophied, and the body has taken a huge hit, and anxiety and depression are through the roof. And from my vantage point, what we all need to calm down is what we call social emotional education and high touch, safe high touch, actual skin to skin contact, look in the eyes, listen with your whole body. We've become these really robotized, cut off talking heads, and it's been so damaging to all of us. and especially people growing up now.
When you're working with teens, are you actually looking at their astrology charts as well when you're working with them to see how they communicate and where their challenges might be in their chart and, what are some of their positive attributes?
Always. I always do. And I have trained the staff. We have 25 staff at AHA. We have a new executive director, Roxy Petty. She's phenomenal. And I do my best to train the staff so they have that superpower too to look at the chart. But whenever I work with teenagers or families, I do look at the chart, not as the soothsayer or know-it-all kind of tool, but just as another tool to understand the different ways that people express themselves.
Are you seeing any astrological patterns like, say, Moon square Saturn? Are there emotional issues? Are there challenges with the parents? Are there any patterns or data that you've seen over the years since you've been working with kids for so long?
Yes, but that gets super technical. So listeners, if you don't know this, don't worry. It's okay. Yeah, when you see Saturn with the moon, you know that people are going to feel emotionally repressed. And then their workout in the lifetime is to become a master of emotional wellness. When you see Pluto square the moon or sun, you're going to see a huge degree of emotional and self-censorship. When you see Pluto square Mars or opposite Mars, you might have a sense of the kind of abuse somebody's gone through. The astrology chart is just a revelation on all of our patterns, and there's pretty reliable data on what kinds of issues or patterns will come up by just what's in the chart. But always, always, the person with the chart is the expert on themselves. So I never force feed people these awarenesses. I ask good questions.
If you had to pick one challenge that teenagers face today, what would it be?
Loneliness. And by the way, loneliness is a more deadly disease than cigarette smoking.
And what suggestions would you give to parents whose kids maybe might have trouble making friends, or they might suffer from social anxiety or maybe socially awkward? Is there anything that parents can do or family members can do to help encourage others? And it doesn't even have to be a teenager. It could be, you could have friends or family members that.
Well, number one, go to your house, go visit you, because that will give them a lot of contact. But number two, honestly, if people would just put down the darn devices, sit around a living room, play a game of cards, create something together, paint a fence, make a gift together, we've got to get back to the head, heart, hand, spirit instead of just the head. So anytime a parent wants to help their teens connect better, put down the darn phone, get off the devices, hang out, build a fire, do something in nature. It's so obvious, and yet we're all challenged because we're so buried in the machine.
Are you concerned about the new technology coming out, like the metaverse and virtual reality, and they're talking about, even going more online versus offline?
Yes, and there's two movies you should see to remind yourself of where this could go. The Matrix and Idiocracy, an incredible, prescient movie made many years ago.
Yeah, I was going to say Idiocracy. I've watched that movie. It's pretty funny how accurate it actually is.
Yeah, and it was 20 years ago? I don't know. But the point of both films is if you take the natural progression of all of this, people just become vegetables with tubes plugged in.
I find, because I work in tech during the day, I work in cybersecurity, and a lot of people that I work with, there seems to be a lack of empathy in the workplace because you're working virtually or you're on a Zoom call. You're missing that emotional connection, or you can't see that person's body language or how they might be thinking and feeling. And sometimes even the work environment can feel very disconnected. I just find it so challenging. I agree with you that people need to get out more and spend time together. And I've even suggested to friends, if you can go to meetups, even if you don't know somebody and you're looking to meet someone new, or join a yoga class or cooking class, or, just kind of put yourself out there, and, you might meet new people that share the same interests as you.
Yes, and I have to do a lot of work on Zoom now because of COVID. And in my work with AHA and the 25 other people I work with, we've had to figure out working with teens on Zoom and working our admin meetings on Zoom. So some of the things that can lessen the negative effects, they're still quite negative. Dance offs, like everybody get up and dance and actually
fun.
do that. Yeah, dance offs. Draw, you can do the draw thing together. You can draw things. Anything where you bring in the senses, this becomes at least a mitigation of all of the just brain mind stuff. So you want to bring the body in as much as possible and the creative in as much as possible. You can do karaoke. I would just take breaks. If I'm at a computer job all day and I was running the company, I'd say every 2 hours we do a creativity break. One time you lead, next time I'll lead. And laughter is the biggest connector of all. And if we can do things where we're silly and we're less self-conscious, this is bonding, seriously bonding.
What are some of the new projects that you're working on right now, and how have those projects evolved because of the pandemic?
Thank you for asking. Well, at AHA, we created something called the Heroes Assemblies, which we've taken into dozens of schools now, serving thousands of teens and educators and administrators. And what that program is on Zoom, and also we have a hybrid model, is that we had people like Jeff Bridges, Van Jones, Dolores Huerta, Gwyneth Paltrow, hundreds of heroes gave us little videos on what it means to them to be a hero. And we show these clips, but then we break into group sessions led by a facilitator where the young people and the teachers and the admin together talk about what it means to stand up for other, what it means to need and want support from other people, what gets in the way. We do these deep dives in these conversations, and then we do a few more videos. And it's been this extremely effective way of equalizing the field and letting people really speak from the heart and get to know each other across all demographics, which is the point of AHA.
And are you only working with schools in the state of California, or are you working with schools all across the country?
We have worked with schools all across the country with the assembly because it's on Zoom. There are some challenges technically in terms of bandwidth. We need to make sure that the school has the bandwidth to have everybody on at the same time, but we have done it, and we'd like to do more of that. It's just been, as you know, such a sketchy time with schools and what they're able to do and the extreme traumatic situations teachers are under.
What are you seeing with teens? Like, what are some of the questions they have or fears they have during this period of the pandemic and uncertainty? What are they worried about? But also, how do you give them hope? How do you give them encouragement that the future will be better?
Great question. Well, I'll answer the first one. One, everybody's saying, not just teenagers, is this the rest of my life? People are very fearful. So the first thing you have to do is recall history. We have, as humans, made it out of far worse situations and done even better things out of hard situations. Just take the Depression and how we came out of that. So giving hope is giving perspective. And mostly the adolescent brain has not fully developed to be able to think about things objectively. It's a very knee-jerk reactive kind of brain. So it takes some investigation and inquiry as to what else has happened in history that we've come out of even better, and how did we get there, and what qualities do you need to meet this moment. I think the thing that teens most need to feel is they have a part to play in this. They're not just pawns in the scheme of this great horror that's happened to the world.
Do you ever recommend meditation, or are there any outside of your classes? Are there any exercises that you ask them to do to help them when they're feeling emotionally stressed?
We have a toolkit of about 200 or so exercises, and we do mindfulness with them every time. That's part of our curriculum, so they know how to do that. But we have all kinds of exercises, from EMDR, tapping in, which is a self-soothing tool when you're feeling anxious, to learning how to draw out the inner critic. I mean, we have so many tools after all these years. So one, we give the tools. Two, we connect them to each other. The other thing that's really important about AHA is that we all learn together. And so it's not a power over model, it's a partnership model. So we really encourage the teams through our program to be each other's allies and support systems. And that's really effective as well.
How would you like the education system to evolve, say, over the next 10 to 20 years? Obviously, state to state education differs, public versus private, city, even cities.
Well, I'm an idealist, so I'm going to give you my dream. No one's ever asked me, but here it is. I don't think there should be anything such as private education, because that completely installs in an even greater fashion the inequity in our country. I think all money should go into making public schools better. We need very small class sizes. We need teachers that are completely qualified in social emotional education. And then education should be about creating curiosity and a thirst for learning, and also skills to meet the next wave of this century, as opposed to the bank account model of depositing information. I think there's nothing to be gained by that. It causes great alienation. It creates a system of a pecking order, like who's got A's, who's got C's. The question, in my mind, who can be the most charismatic, kind influence in this group? And what gift are they going to offer their community? Those are the things that matter to me. And I've been in education long enough to tell you it is a completely broken system. And the teachers are oppressed, the students are oppressed, and we need a complete reimagination. But the worst thing we can do is pour more money into private and therefore let all the poor people get the absolute worst possible instruction they could ever get.
Do you see that for these changes to happen, it needs to happen on a government level, on a community level? Is it a combination of both? Do you feel like maybe now that a lot of education is online now, that some of these programs can be implemented virtually and then be taken offline?
I like that idea. Anything that's going to work is a private-public partnership. We need the government and we need the private sector to agree upon a new educational model in which every single child has the same access to success. Every single child. We as a country are doing much worse because the gap between who has and who doesn't have is so wide. And every country where there's this level of inequity, the depression skyrockets, the anxiety skyrockets, and the physical health suffers greatly. We need to fix that.
So I want to take a question and take it into astrology. What is going on astrologically, do you feel, that possibly these changes, now that we're going, we are in the age of Aquarius, or we're going into the age of Aquarius, how is that going to benefit education, society, consciousness?
Well, there's two ways that humans can go about the time we're in. There is never, ever, in my experience, a cosmic certainty, because we're co-creators. So here are the lesson plans. It's completely up to humans what level we play it at. Right now, we're playing it mostly very badly. So here's the two ways this can go. We are being offered an incredible insight into how close-knit this world really is through this virus. Somebody breathes in China, somebody dies in California. I mean, we have now seen it. What we have to do astrologically, what's up for us to do is recognize what's dying. Patriarchy is dying. If we actually attend to this with consciousness, it's like, wow, the dinosaur's dead. What's the next great human imagination we can all invest in? Everybody would have to let go at once and work together. Now, I doubt that that's what's going to happen, unless my favorite scenario that you might be into is that the aliens come down and give us a great spanking and an urge and an evolution. But short of that, I think probably what will happen is that instead of people making this conscious turn and shift, many more calamities will occur that will truly change the ecological, geographic, economic landscape of this world. And much more suffering will happen before people come to their senses and realize, choose the change. Choose it. Don't let it become your fate.
Do you believe in a person's chart that their life is written in the stars, or that they have some free will to make changes on how their life might unfold?
I completely think that we have a lot of say in how our life goes. Think of it like a roadmap. We have a roadmap. We can choose to go off-road. We can choose to speed and crash. We can choose to run out of gas. There's many, many options. But if you learn how to do this roadmap with total attention, curiosity, and get all the help you need instead of pretending you don't need directions, then you can have this life be an extraordinary journey in which you keep learning, you keep meeting new people to help you, and it feels like the wind's behind your back. You know you're on track when the wind's behind your back.
What about astrological patterns that you might see in families?
Oh yeah, those are for sure. We've got those going.
I come from a family of Virgos, so
yeah. Let me speak to that. Well, Virgo's one thing. That's a sign. There's a woman that's done great work on generational patterns, and her name is Lynn Bell. She's phenomenal, and I learned a lot from her. But beyond the signs, you really do see through generations of charts the same complexes emotionally. So let's say a complex is Saturn square the moon, emotional repression. You'll see that pretty much in most people's charts throughout the 3 generations. We're all working on this project together as a family. That's why when you do a lot of therapy and you get that trauma work done that you need, you can actually break the chain of a generational complex. And that's highly recommended. But you do see these repeating patterns through generational charts, and they point to, let's say it's your clan. What's your clan's lesson plan?
So for, depending on the families, I'll just use my family as an example. Virgo was about hard work, being loyal, down to earth, getting it right.
Yeah.
Always have to get it right.
So
yeah.
Perfectionism is the complex in your family lineage. So perfectionism is really oppressive when you punish yourself and others for not being perfect. It's an exquisite archetypal energy when it's just about, I'll do the best I can, and that's the only thing that I'm responsible for.
And what about relationships where you might see romantic relationships where people find themselves dating the same astrological sign?
Oh, yeah, that happens a lot. Well, the bottom line is we kind of set our erotic map between the age of 0 and 6 so unconsciously, and we're basically selecting psychologically mom, dad, brother, sister over and over again until we realize we're doing that, because there's always this hope in the picking the same one over and over that we'll get it right this time. But sometimes you have to realize that that very hook is the dysfunction itself, that you would be repeating, going after something that was either unfulfilling or harmful.
So can you tell me more about cosmic DNA and how we can understand our own personal cosmic DNA?
Yes, well, the chart is the blueprint of your cosmic DNA, which is just to say it's your karma and your education from the moment you're born. Now, it takes an incredibly skilled person, so always look at who you're talking to if they say they're an astrologer, because pretty much everyone says that now. But they have to have years of experience to help you understand your cosmic DNA, because there's so many discrete and important parts to the chart. But it's basically your lesson plan and what you came in to attend to. And that's your cosmic DNA, which is very different than your social and cultural and familial influences, because those are on top of that.
As far as like the age of Aquarius, where are you? Do you believe that we're in the age of Aquarius now, or it hasn't happened yet?
I do not think we are there, but we are in the last 100 years of it. It's each precession of the equinox period is about 2,300 years or 2,600 years, I forget. But needless to say, we're in the last couple 100 years of the age of Pisces, and then we go into the age of Aquarius.
And how do you think it will affect us on a global scale as we're moving over, say, the next 10 years? I always personally feel like energy is constantly shifting, and it's kind of having to, for me personally, I look at it like, okay, I have to accept that you just kind of have to go day by day. You have certain control over your life on what you do on a day-to-day basis, but there's so many other factors going on around you. How can people kind of work with that energy? What suggestions do you have?
That's a great question. I think each person has to be responsible to be the cleanest vehicle and vessel they can be. And I'm not puritanical, I don't have much Virgo, but I would tell you that I spend an hour to two a day on my practices so that I can be a contributor, not a complainer. So each person would need to assess how much complaining are they doing versus contributing. We're each a gift. Every single person here is a gift. And sometimes we have to take the mud off the package to get to the gift. So the only and everything each person can do is take the very, very best care of themselves so that their energy system is in good shape.
And how do people protect themselves energy-wise from other people that they may be working with, or could be family members that sometimes, depending on the sensitivity of a person, another person's energy can impact them, a negative energy, or sometimes you can walk in a room and sometimes the energy can feel very heavy. And what recommendations do you have where people can clear that energy or work through it?
I am one of those people. So I've had to spend a lifetime figuring that out. And here's what I know that's very helpful. There is nothing to be gained by being in the same room with people when you go under the line, which means when you're starting to get flooded, overwhelmed, threatened. No matter what anyone's told you, it's not polite, it's not nice to stay in that room. So, number one, know when that starts happening and go to the bathroom and wash your hands or sing a song. Step outside. For me, there's certain people I have to have very limited time with, like I can be with them an hour and then I need to leave. Anyone that knows me well by now thinks I'm a total eccentric, because it's like, you can come to my house for dinner, but you have to leave at 7:30. I'm not rude. I mean, I used to be more rude, but it's just because I actually can't do more than that and be present. And I think we've all been socialized to believe just being a body in the room is being caring, when actually you're just adding in to the toxic or very low vibration. So breaks, you need breaks.
I think those are good recommendations, and that's a good way to be like, oh, I'm going to go get a breath of fresh air, or, oh,
Yeah.
excuse me, I have to go to the girls' room.
Nobody's ever objected. In the same way, I have friends that love smoking pot, they love drinking. I can't really do much of that, like a very, very little at a time. And, once I'm clear about my limits and I don't have to judge other people, it's like, no, actually, I don't want to have more and I don't want to be high, because I have a very sacred job to do and I like to be clear. I think we all have to realize that every person has a seed of their own genius and creativity and gift to give. And what's in the way of that is on them. It's not on anyone else.
I think astrology now, there you might see in like magazine articles and news articles, people are obsessed with astrology, or astrology is the new religion for millennials. And I'm curious how you feel religion and astrology will mix together over the next 20 years. Will they merge together, or it's just, yeah, I'm just curious.
I don't think they will merge. I think they're already merged to the degree they will be merged. I think that the age of Pisces is the age of organized religion, and it is in a bizarre way about Virgo, which is separating and making distinctions, because the opposite of Pisces is Virgo. And I've done a lot of study now of the world major religions, and when you boil them all down, they're all about connection and love, all of them. But there's been this obvious huge world wars, etc., about who's got the right idea. And I think the reason astrology has come into such huge favor is that it's not sexist, it's not racist, it's not classist, and it doesn't need to be better than. The problem with every other organized philosophy is at its core, there's a superiority issue there. I think astrology is everyone belongs, everyone fits. I think we'll even get beyond astrology. I think that we're going into a whole nother dimension if we make it on a physical plane. We're going into a whole nother dimension of just beingness, where we don't have to keep segmenting and slicing and dicing people into categories and stereotypes. I think in my most far out vision, we exist, we love, we create, we give our gifts.
And is this part of what they call the Great Awakening to you?
It would be if we did it.
Do you think it's far off into the future, or relatively close?
I can tell you're a little more optimistic than me at this point. Well, I heard Deepak Chopra say, and he's an elder, and I'm an elder now, not as old as him. But somebody was asking him about the human experiment, and he said, "Oh, it's absolutely certain it's failed, and we will be extinct, and the next thing will come." I have no evidence at this point that we're going to transform the problems that we've created. I have no evidence, none. So I'm pretty practical. So I would say to you, the Great Awakening better happen quick. Everybody better get on board instead of sitting on Facebook or Instagram making accusations and character assassinations at one another. I mean, we are playing so small when the stakes are so huge.
For me personally, I'm a strong believer in you can change energy on, I can start where I am now with myself, with others I interact with on a daily basis. I think that sometimes people don't realize that you can change someone's, I don't know if I want to say life, but you can change their mood or their attitude just by saying hello to somebody, or being kind to someone, or stopping and listening to a story they might want to share with you, trying to connect with others and being open to new relationships, new ideas, and new opportunities. I'm a big believer in manifestation and how energy is shifting, but I always kind of try to stop myself to be still and see where the energy is moving. Because sometimes I can feel it. I think I mentioned earlier, like when you walk in a room, you're kind of like, oh, what's going on here? And I've had that since I was young. I try to be optimistic. I do feel like other countries internationally might be getting it a lot quicker than we are, or maybe they were already there to begin with. They might be less. Like if I think of certain countries in South America where they're more focused on family, and yes, there's technology, but they make time to enjoy themselves and spend time with their family and friends. Whereas I feel as Americans, we've become very focused on being overly materialistic at times.
Yes. So where I am optimistic, just because we can align on this, I am the most positive person you'll meet. I'm all about spreading the love, giving people every possible accolade and true, earnest compliment I could ever give. Any service person, I'm grateful, I'm thankful. So in the micro, I'm completely optimistic. In the macro is where I'm saying I haven't seen the evidence. Like you, I'm a very high sensitive energy person. This is my heart. We have every single thing that we need on this planet to make it heaven on earth. And the only and ever obstacle in the way is human greed. Change that, we have the planet we want.
And what are some of the steps that we can all take to help improve our emotional well-being and improve our relationships in the new year, 2022, whatever that's supposed to mean this year? It feels like Groundhog's Day sometimes.
It does, but it is going to be quite an exciting year. I feel very optimistic about some of the things this year. Because you are this energy person, there's never been a better year in our lifetime to touch into the rapturous bliss that's available on this planet. 2022 has that aspect. It also has the roughest kind of wild bronco ride that we're on right now. To me, relationship is where it's at. Everything that matters to me is the people I love, everything. And I think that in order to have the best relationships we could ever have, is I always ask myself this question with my partner, with my friends: how may my love serve? How may my love serve? There is just nothing to be gained by the mind trying to solve the mind, thinking about ourselves constantly and what we are and what we're not and all that. But when you get into the service of love, not from a transactional place of I'm going to serve you, so then you'll give me something, but truly from this well of love that exists in each of us to just give from our hearts. When you get in touch with that and give from that place, everybody around you does shine better, and you yourself are going to be in better health.
What are some of the new projects you're working on? I believe that you're working on a new book. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm so excited. So I have this big book contract with Random House and the Goop imprint, and it's called The Elements: How to Live a Fully Expressed Life. And the provisional launch date is October. I've been working very hard on that book. I'm in love with that book. I've learned so much writing it. And it's really all about each person has the potential to live 100% their self-expression, and out of that be a huge gift to their community. And the book is astrology, it's social emotional education, it's psychology, it's art, it's got some really good inventories in it. So that's a big project I'm working on at this point, is the launch of that.
And how can people contact you if they want to learn more about the Healing Arts Academy or more information about some of the books you've written?
Thank you. Anyone can always reach me through JenniferFreed.com. That's my website, and I have an assistant, and I'm also very good at answering questions about my work. That's the best place to reach me.
And out of the books that you've written, which one would you recommend that they start with?
Well, my favorite book that I wrote is called Lessons from Stanley the Cat. And that has nothing to do with astrology, but everything to do with living a happy life. It was a very popular book when it came out. So start with that, Lessons from Stanley the Cat. And then my book, Use Your Planets Wisely, has been a bestseller, and it's a great primer to study your own astrology chart and to work with friends and family on their charts.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate it. And I'm definitely going to go check out the books that you recommended.
Okay. I hope you have a beautiful time during this hectic time, and that your energy just keeps getting better and better. And I really appreciate your devotion to the tribe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You just heard the Age of Aquarius podcast with your host, JC Nova. Remember to subscribe to the show on your favorite streaming platform. Thanks for tuning in.
Age of Aquarius is a cosmic media production and recorded in Los Angeles, California. A special thanks to our producers, Georgie Rutherford and Christopher Lang. To learn more about Age of Aquarius, please visit our website at ageofaquarius.fm. Thanks for listening.